Hello YouTube, this next video is a free extract from my larger course called Premiere Pro Essentials. If you want to go further with Premiere Pro, check out the link in the description. Let's get going. Hi there, my name is Daniel Walter Scott and I'm an Adobe Certified Instructor. And in this course, you and me are going to learn how to make beautiful videos together using Adobe Premiere Pro. This course is aimed at people new to Premiere Pro. No previous video editing experience is needed. It's also for those of you, you know who are self-taught, who open the program reluctantly, hack away at it, swear a lot. This course is for you too. We do start right at the beginning and work our way through step by step, but we do cover a lot of ground in this course. You'll come out the other side with you'll be pretty confident taking on a real wide range of video editing work. During the course, you'll work through real-world projects like editing an interview, a wedding video, a short commercial and documentary, social media advertising videos, YouTube how-to videos with talking head footage mixed with screencasts and voiceovers. You'll learn how to work with text, animation, and motion graphics. We'll make special effects, add music. We'll take your still images and make them feel like real video. You'll learn how to do color correction, color grading, and lots of video transitions. Plus all the technical bits too, like HD versus 4K and frames per second, all the way through to exporting. You'll learn how to balance and sync your audio, fix bad audio like removing echo and background noises, plus loads more, including things like shortcuts and tips and tricks. On top of the class projects that we do together, there are practice assignments, like little mini projects that you get to do to practice your skills, but also build videos for your portfolio. Enroll now if you are ready to upgrade yourself and finally learn how to make beautiful videos in Premiere Pro. You made it! Welcome to the course. First thing we need to talk about is getting started. First up, exercise files. So you need to download the exercise files. There'll be a link on the page here somewhere. Be warned though that they're pretty big, 1.4 gigabytes. So if you are somewhere where you've got like a limit on how much you can download, you might have to go to work or go to school, the library, and download them. They'll take a little while, but you need those first to get started. Next question is, what kind of computer? Do you need a Mac or a PC? Doesn't matter. Software runs the same on both of them. Some of the shortcuts are different, and I'm gonna explain those through the course, but I'll just point them out. I'm using a Mac myself, but it's not hard to follow along with a PC, and I'll just explain if there are any small little differences along the way. So what software do you need? You need Premiere Pro. There's a couple of other different flavors of Premiere Rush, Elements, okay? But Premiere Pro is what we're gonna be using in this course. It's the kind of main one that Adobe makes. The other question I get is, can I use an older version of Premiere Pro? Not really. It is, if you're using say CS6 Premiere Pro, it's just gonna be pretty frustrating doing this course. You're gonna be able to do about 60% of what we're gonna do together, but when it gets to so you'll be able to do basic editing, the same as the newer version. We're using 2020 in this course. 2021's just about to come out. Okay, so anything above or around that sort of time frame will work perfect. Anything that's pretty old, like CS6, you're just gonna get to the bit where it says fix audio. Okay, there's a button, and you're not gonna be able to do it, and you're gonna have to figure out how to do it in the older version. So maybe an older course for CS6 might be better for you. All right, let's talk about hardware. You're gonna need some minimum requirements in terms of your computer or desktop, okay, to actually run Premiere Pro. It's quite stressful on computers. Okay, so the best way to do it is, it changes all the time, so Google the words Premiere Pro system requirements, and Adobe will tell you what the minimum and recommended requirements are. Okay, and the closer to recommended you are, the better, the faster it will run. The minimum will actually run, you won't have any problems, but it'll be painfully slow. Now, a question often asked is, what happens if I'm below the minimum? I've got a really old, crappy laptop. What do I do? It'll probably still work. I don't know how old and crappy yours is, Okay, but I know I've got a PC back there, my Lenovo. Okay, it's really old. It's below the minimum requirements, but it still loads Premiere Pro just fine. Okay, I'll take that back. Not just fine. It loads, it works. It pops up with a warning saying, hey, we do not support your video card. But you click OK and it still works. So the biggest problem is collecting it from downstairs once I've thrown it at the window. It is painfully slow, but it'll work. So have a little look at the requirements and don't skip any videos. I realize the irony of putting this at the end of this video because the skippers have probably already skipped. I say it because there are some sections that you might think, oh, I'm just gonna skip that because that doesn't relate to me. Watch it because I've had to kind of, stage all the different kind of bits that we're going to learn throughout the course at different kind of like learning levels. So even though it might say something like Instagram, you're like, I don't need to watch that. I've got other bits that can be used, techniques and tools that can be used generally amongst other different kinds of video editing. So try not to skip videos. This is the end of this one now. You can skip now. Okay, yeah, let's get going. Question that comes up a lot is what is the difference between Premiere Pro and After Effects? If you already know the answer, you can skip this video. If you're unsure, stick around. Basically, Premiere Pro is video editing and After Effects is special effects. So Premiere Pro would be something you'd use if you are going to make a how-to video like this one, okay? If you are making a commercial, a documentary, a feature film, I can't think of anything else, but it's all to do with taking footage from a camera generally, okay, and doing cuts, doing transitions, doing some basic color correction, fixing the audio, and then sending it on its merry way. After Effects, on the other hand, is all about motion graphics and kinetic type, and if your logo needs to spin in and spin around and catch fire for no good reason, that is After Effects. Let me show you a couple of examples just to make it crystal clear. All right, a good example of what After Effects does is kind of their own website. You can see in the background here the types of things that gets used. You can see kind of cool transitions and intro videos. There is special effects, laser car, some just interesting special effects. But I feel like there is another side to After Effects, the side that I do more of. It's more like motion graphics. See this intro here? There's something similar to the beginning of these videos, but there's a bit of camera work going on and some zooming and some kind of animated graphics. You can see me interacting with this here. That's After Effects. Okay, so I do kind of more, you can kind of see motion graphic style stuff. Animated infographics is what this course is. If you want to do After Effects, check out that. But there's a lot of cool stuff you can do like this in After Effects. Other things that are quite cool are more motion graphics, okay, where it's kind of more design style animations. You can kind of see all of this type stuff. So that is After Effects. Premiere Pro, let me show you an example. So this is one of the examples from the course that we're going to do, and it's a short documentary on parkour, and basically you can see in footage here, there's a bunch of MP4s that were recorded on a camera, there's some audio, and we combine it together to tell a story in the timeline over here. Okay, let's play it through.
When I first started doing parkour, it was 5 years ago, and
there's a bit of interview in the background. We cut between a few different videos.
Watching videos of others and blowing my mind that some
B-roll.
people can jump so far and do
Wait
so
for
many
it.
awesome tricks. I realized that there's no limits. All limits are...
We fade in some dramatic music. Oh, look at that. Premiere Pro. Documentaries, commercials, YouTube videos, how-to videos, anything that deals with videos. Premiere Pro is really good at doing it quickly and outputting it quickly. Freaks out for special effects, does some stuff. We're going to do special effects in here. But After Effects freaks out at doing this kind of editing in front of us, but loves doing all the special effects. So, can you get away with using Premiere Pro without After Effects? Totally. Premiere Pro does a lot of the simple stuff that you want to do in terms of special effects. It's just the more hardcore stuff you might have to jump out into After Effects. Alright, that's it. Premiere Pro, video editing, After Effects, special effects. Let's actually start one of our projects. Hey there, just quickly before we carry on, I just want to remind you this is like a small part of the larger course. Hopefully some good value here, but if you do want to go a bit further, okay, you enjoy this course, my teaching style, loving Premiere Pro so far, check out the full course. It's called Premiere Pro Essentials, and there'll be a link in the description. All right, carry on. Hi there, this is going to be our first project. We are going to take some video captured on a camera, stitch it together here on our timeline. This handsome man is going to talk about a course that he's making. We're going to fix the color, we're going to fix the audio, we'll add some lower thirds and some background music. Let's have a little listen. Hi there, my name is Daniel Scott and I'm an Adobe Certified Instructor. And some happy background music. There'll be some bullet points as well. There'll be a fade out at the end. Okay, correcting audio, correcting the colors. It's a nice simple project to get us started. Figure out our way around Premiere Pro. All right, let's get going. All right, so open up Premiere Pro and yours is going to look something like this. It won't look exactly like mine. What you might get faced with is a bunch of intro videos that you can watch. You can skip those, that's my job. So we want to create our first project. Okay, you can do it by over here. You can see the word new project, or go to File, New Project. Either way, get started. This new project window will open it. Let's give our project a name. This it's an XD intro course. I like to give mine a date. Okay, so we're going to put in the date just of when it gets started. Okay, so the other thing you need to do is the location. Where do you want this file to be? I'm going to click Browse. And what we'll do is we'll put it in our exercise files. Let's go to Project 1 and just dump it in here. We don't need to worry about any of this other scary looking stuff. Just click OK. Now your Premiere Pro might look a little different from mine, so what you need to do is go to Window, go to Workspaces, make sure Editing is selected. If it's not, give it a click, then go to Window, Workspaces, and we'll hit this one that says Reset to Saved Layout. Click on that, and it will just kind of rejig everything to kind of get it back to, well, at least so everyone looks the same. That's a handy one to remember when you accidentally go and freak this thing out and everything flies to the wrong place, and you're like, lost. Go to Window, go to Workspaces, make sure it's on Editing, just go to Reset Save, and back to normal. Okay, let's get started by importing some footage. Let's go to File, let's go to Import, and I want you to go to your exercise files, go to the Project 1 talking head, and in here let's bring in 01xdintro.mp4. Click Import. Now, let me introduce you to your project window. Basically, this is all the files sit, okay, that you bring into your project. What we want to do now is actually turn it into something called a sequence or a timeline. They kind of mean the same thing. So over here, this is just like the raw footage. To make it into like an editable timeline that we can start editing and cutting and adding other videos to, you click, hold, and drag it over to here. Now, first thing I might acknowledge is that yours might be looking like this. Okay, so I switch between list view and icon view quite a bit. You're probably on icon view. This is really handy view. And the cool thing about icon view is you can kind of, I'm not doing anything, I'm just hovering my mouse over it. I'm just kind of like sliding it across. I'm not even sliding, I'm just moving my mouse back and forth. You can kind of scrub through the footage. Okay, footage is another word for the video that you've brought in. So you can kind of get an idea of what's in it. Okay, so let's be on this icon view to get started. What we want to do now is create our sequence / timeline by clicking, holding, and just drag it in this area down here. It just makes a sequence for us. So over here in our project window, okay, it's taken my MP4 and created a sequence, and it's used the same name, which can be confusing. So this is the sequence, this is my video. How do you tell the difference? Kind of, see this little icon here? If you hover above it, it says I am a sequence, and over here it says I'm a bit of video and a bit of audio. So this sequence, whenever I make a new one, I try to make a habit of going in and double clicking the word down here and giving it a different name. Okay, so that it's clear what it is. So I'm going to call this my XD intro sequence. Okay, I don't often call it sequence, I just add that just for this course, just so that we can remember what we've done. I hit enter on my keyboard. So here's my sequence with a video on it, and that's just the video by himself. Over here in my little timeline, you can see this is my video. Let's add a second video to it, okay, to make it a little bit clearer how this sequence works. So to do it, let's import file, let's Let's go to import and let's open O2 XD intro. Click import. There we go. So I've got my O1, my O2, and my sequence. What I'd like to do is add both videos. Okay, I've got O1, you can kind of see the name there. Let's click, hold, and drag O2, and just drag it so it's just afterwards. Okay, you don't really want it here, nothing wrong with that, but we'll talk about that later. But try and get it on the same channels here, or the same tracks. And what you can do is click on it and just drag it so it kind of like butts up at the end there. Okay, just some basic nav to get started, because you might be like, I can't put my O2 in because I can't see it, okay, or enough room to put it on there. So we're going to look at zooming in and out. So what we're going to do is we're going to click anywhere down here in our timeline, okay, because you can kind of see it gets that blue line around the outside. Okay, you can see if I click up here, blue line around there, blue line around the outside of that. I want the blue line to be around my timeline. And then if you look down at your keyboard, you've got plus and minus. They're generally along the top of your keyboard at the end of the numbers. Okay, you got a plus and a minus, or it might be labeled as an equals. Try tapping those. Okay, plus to zoom in and minus to zoom out, obviously. I just want you to zoom in kind of like this so you can see a bit of the end here. Okay, and if you couldn't before, you should be able to now go through and drag a number 2. So the one weird thing about that though is if I have this selected, okay, my program window, which shows me kind of what's appearing in my video, if I hit plus there, it'll zoom in on the timeline along the top there and kind of not do what you want. So you just got to be very careful where you have selected. Just keep an eye out for that blue arrow, while the blue blocks are on the outside. So click down here, plus, minus, easy. Now, if for some reason you don't like that or can't do that, you can use these little weird rubber bands down the end here. I hate them. They're really weird, but some people like them. You can see I can grab the end here and drag it out, drag it in to kind of zoom in and out. That's lovely. And I can grab the center of it to kind of like scrub along. All right, that might be the way you do it. There's nothing wrong with it. Most people use the plus and minus, but it's just some people in my classes, they're like, nope, I like that way. Use the weird rubber band stretchy thing. All right, next thing in terms of basic navigation is, can you see this little thing here? He's called your CTI, okay, your current time indicator. Depending on what tutorials you're following, I think technically it's called the CTI, current time indicator, but it's your playhead. Okay, it's wherever if I grab this little kind of weird half diamond thing, drag it along, it's showing me, where I'm up to in my playhead. So if I hit play here, watch, moves along. Okay, so this is your CTI playhead. Click it, hold it, and drag it along just to get used to scrubbing along the timeline. Because what will happen is, say I drag it along to here, and I hit my little plus button, it's going to zoom into wherever that is. You can see I can zoom right in, and I'm starting to see the audio for my voice, and minus to zoom out. Okay, so move it along here, plus to zoom in, minus to zoom out. All right, basic stuff. Let's get into becoming an actual editor. So to be a fully fledged editor, which you're going to be in about 10 seconds, you need to actually start slicing your footage up, okay? Because at the beginning, there's me. So I've put it right at the beginning here, hit the play button, okay? And you can see me, because I've filmed myself, I have to get the camera going and then go sit down. You'll notice, I've just noticed that my fly's down. Real professional. There's a lot of like me wiping the sweat away. Lots of great stuff. There's a false start. Watch this. I kind of drag my playhead to beginning here, hit play. You don't have the audio through this video here. You can drag it along and listen to it. You can kind of see that I said hi there. And I just didn't do very well, so I started again. There's a lot of restarts, okay, or second takes. So you can kind of see roughly where I get to about here. So drag it along just before I start waving my arm. Drag the CTI, okay, to about just before I start waving. And we're going to grab our editing tool. This is the main one you're going to use in Premiere Pro. It's called the razor tool. In your toolbar, the fourth one down, click on that. Okay, and click once, kind of anywhere in here, along with this little blue line for your CTI is, and you've made your first cut. Let's grab the selection tool, okay, this top tool, click on this first bit, hit delete. Okay, we've made our first edit. Ta-da! You're a video editor. Not a very good one, but you got to start somewhere. All right, next thing we're going to do is click it and drag it. So I've clicked it once and just dragging, you can drag any part. It's better to drag the top part of it. If you drag the bottom part, okay, this is the audio part of the video and this top part is the video. If you drag the bottom part, you can adjust the volume and do all sorts of weird stuff. Don't do the weird stuff. Click, hold, and drag this along, okay, till it kind of snaps at the beginning here. Okay, so it's kind of stuck at 0, 0. Drag it along right there at the beginning. So the next bit of editing is going to be chopping it off at the end. So you're going to play it through, and when it gets to the end, we're going to hit stop. And I'm going to show you a little shortcut. We're going to do a few shortcuts throughout this course. We're going to start with this one, the spacebar key on your keyboard. So look down your keyboard, spacebar, hit it once. Hi there. It's the shortcut for this button. Okay, because you do it so often, you can see if I hover above it, it says space, start, stop. So spacebar on. Spacebar off to start and stop it. So play it all the way through until it gets kind of to the end. I'm going to do the same, and where I feel like it finishes, I'm going to hit my spacebar to stop. Using the software Adobe XD. There you go, kind of got to there roughly, and doesn't have to be perfect just yet. I've stopped it. I'm going to grab my razor tool again. Remember, fourth tool down. If that happens, you see that little thing flash? That's the autosave. Premiere Pro is pretty good at saving your project as you go through. So we're going to grab the razor tool, click on it once, selection tool, click this part that I don't want, hit delete, and then I'm going to shuffle this over. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing for this next bit. Now the cool thing about Premiere Pro is I'm going to zoom in on my little timeline down here. What was the shortcut for zoom? Plus, that's right. As long as it's blue around the outside, by clicking anywhere in here, or the clip, doesn't matter, zoom in a little bit. Okay, you can see this audio waveform, and that's, you do a lot of your editing to this audio waveform. So what I would like to do is grab my CTI on my playhead at the beginning, hit spacebar, realize false start, drag it along here. Together we'll create. If you, sometimes what some people see my intros are like, no, that's really good. They don't realize I had to do like 50 false starts to get my flow going. Together we'll use this. There you go. Persistence then. So I'm going to get right to the beginning of this bit. I can kind of tell this is the bit without actually knowing. Okay, so the dragging the center of this kind of stretchy thing is quite useful. Okay, at least now until we get into a few more shortcuts. Okay, and I can kind of tell by the waveform that I continue on my merry way, so this is probably the final cut or the final shot that I want. So I'm going to drag it to about there, grab my razor tool, thank you razor tool, click, and I can just go over here and actually probably just guess that that's probably the end. Okay, and just click once. Go back to my selection tool, delete this first bit, select this last bit, and I'm just hitting delete on my keyboard. Okay, and then this guy, I'm going to click the top part, not the bottom part, and drag it along, because if you drag the bottom part, often messes with the audio, remember. So drag this top part, and you, my friend, have edited our first video, at least the first part. Welcome to the club. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can see my whole timeline. I'm going to drag the CTI all the way to the end here. I'm going to hit spacebar and watch it all the way through. I'm not going to, but you should. Okay, just actually, I'm going to drag my CTI to here. Here's my little cut across. Okay, this is a straight cut. You've done a bit of editing. You've done a transition. Okay, that, believe it or not, is a transition, and probably the one you're going to use the most. Just a nice straight cut between two different shots. And if I'm honest, 80% of my time in Premiere Pro is exactly that. Razor tool, cutty cut, drag it up. Okay, we'll learn a few speed tricks to kind of speed that part of it up, but that's, yeah, you're a video editor, people. Now, one thing I want to acknowledge before we go is a little bit of weirdness. There's a lot of weirdness in Premiere Pro, to be honest. What I'd like to do is show you what might happen, what you might have done already, is I got my sequence. Okay, I got the 2 video files over here. This is my timeline. Okay, over here it's something called the program window. Program window is a fancy name for this is what's actually going to be exported. Anything that kind of plays along in here is the stuff that's going to go out at the end. You got this other window called the source window. So if I double click on 01, if you're a double clicker, you've probably already found here. Double click it, you're like, ooh, what is this? What is that? If you've opened up Premiere Pro before and got a bit lost, this can be a little confusing. Your source monitor is just a preview monitor. Scribble that out. Instead of saying source, say preview. This is where you preview stuff. Okay, and over here is the stuff that actually goes out. This is your finished product. But it looks weird having two of them, okay? And all doing the same same crazy faces, okay? What I find for new people is if that's scary, just click on effects controls for no other reason than to hide your source monitor. You're like, okay, just leave that there. You can go back to that later on by clicking it. But for the moment, it's nice just to have the program window up, your timeline down the bottom here, and this project window with all your files. All right, nice and simple. Let's get into some more editing in the next video. Hi everyone, in this video we are going to add a couple more videos. We're going to edit it in a different way, different from using the razor tool like we did in the last video. Also, I'm going to show you what to do when your computer starts running slow. And I'll show you how to make this waveform bigger and edit from it directly. I'm ready, you're ready, let's get going. Okay, to get started, let's bring in some footage. Let's go to File, let's go to Import, and let's bring in from our exercise files, Project 1, let's bring in 3 and 4. You can bring in more than one at a time by clicking the first one, holding Shift, grabbing the second one. You can bring them in individually if you find that hard. Let's click Import. You'll see down the bottom here our little project window starting to fill up. Okay, remember project window has all our files in it. And I don't hate thumbnails, but I switched to list view very early even, because I just like to see the names and all listed in this view here. It's great. You can make them bigger. I'm not sure why you would. Okay, but you can't make them much smaller. The one thing that is weird about this is that they're actually listed non-alphabetically in here. You can see 01, then it jumps to XD, and then 02. It's kind of random. So if you do prefer this view, because scrubbing along is pretty cool. So to kind of get it a little bit more usable, see this little slotted lines down here? Click on this, and you can say I want to order, not by user's order, but by name. Okay, and it'll just put it in alphabetical. I don't know, is that just me? Or maybe it's me. So we're going to add these to the timeline. You can, let's click this first one, 03, and just drag the whole thing over until it's after 02. Zoom out a little bit. What's the shortcut? Yeah, it's minus. We're getting there. Okay, and bring in number 4 as well. Nice. Now we're just going to kind of like jump. You don't actually have to drag it. You can just kind of click in here and it jumps to it. Up to you whether you want to drag the CTI along. Okay, but with it here, hit spacebar, preview. There you go. And one thing though is if yours is struggling to play back, if it's struggling to play back this video already, is not a good sign. Okay, but if it is, you see here in the bottom, okay, it's trying to play it back in full resolution. Okay, this is shot in HD. Okay, so it's trying to play it back in full resolution. Let's drop this down to half or a quarter. If it's playing back slowly, just drop it to a quarter. Keep an eye on this. Okay, it's like it's playing okay, looks fine. Go to quarter, and then I hit play, spacebar. Can you see it's kind of blurry? Okay, it's not affecting like the output. If you export this now, it's going to look perfect. It's just like changing the preview, and this will happen to everybody. Doesn't matter how good your computer is. You'll get to a point where you've got so many layers and so many things going on that actually just stick it down to quarter. You know, when you're doing color grading and making it all look pretty, you might have to jump it back up to full, but quarter is fine. You'll notice when it's paused, it's always at full. Okay, it's only when it's playing, look, goes to a low quality one, just to speed things along. Now, in the last video, we edited using the razor tool. So I'm going to click down here on my timeline, so that goes blue around the outside, hit plus a couple of times. And what we did was, I know this video already, so so the first bit, I start, and then get lost, start again, get lost, start again. So this is the last chunk that we want, okay? Because that's the bit that I actually complete my sentence. So in the last one, we used the razor tool and we just clicked, okay, and we deleted the bits we didn't need. There's another way of editing, okay, and there's no real right or wrong, just sometimes you need one and sometimes you need the other. So we're gonna do, we've done razor, let's grab the selection tool. And what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna put my playhead kind of where I want it to be, because it's really helpful and tries to snap to wherever the playhead is, so you can use that to your advantage. Get it kind of at the beginning here. What we're going to do is, watch this. So I've got my selection tool, and if I hover between this gap here, can you see if I move it to the left-hand side, it's got the left-hand arrow, right-hand arrow. Okay, she's going to be close in here. So I want this side, because I want to deal with this track, okay, or this clip. I'm going to click it, hold it, drag it, okay, and you can see I can drag it to my playhead, and it kind of snaps. And it's the exact same thing. Nothing's different about it. Instead of just slicing it with the razor tool and deleting it, or dragging it at the end. Some people, you'll end up using a bit of both. Okay, and so we're going to grab it, drag it along. Okay, do the same for the end. I'm going to hit my spacebar. Manage your own UX projects. Now, what I do when I'm editing is that I edit via the waveform. We kind of took it in the last video, but it's very hard to see. It's teeny tiny. Okay, so what we're going to do is, can you see, basically there's this kind of a thicker line here. Okay, video is all on the top and the audio is all below. Okay, so if you've got like 10 audio tracks and one video, you're going to have 10 below this. Okay, we've only got kind of like 3 layers to start with, but you can add more. So all the video is at the top and the audio is down the bottom. What I would like to do is move my little mouse, okay, between these lines here, and you can see this one here, just underneath the track I'm working on. Now, if you've come from other Adobe worlds, they're like layers, okay, the same thing, but they call them tracks in here in the video world. Okay, so I'm just going to click, hold, and drag it down. Oh, look at that. I can see all the little peaks and troughs and stuff, and it just makes it really easy to edit. Okay, so I'm going to hit plus to zoom in, and I can see, without even watching it and kind of pausing it when I feel like it's finished, I can just drag this along to about just after I finish speaking, and that's nearly always the time to cut it. Okay, so it's real easy to edit via the waveform. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to drag the end. Okay, so if you can't see this end here, you might have to grab the middle of this guy just to drag it along a little bit. Okay, and grab the end. So I'm still using my selection tool and just drag it in. Boom. Now a big question that people have is like, have I deleted this forever? No. You can grab it again and just drag it back out. It's always there. You've never deleted anything ever. You're just kind of trimming the view of it up for export. Okay, but your original audio, or sorry, your original video, okay, this XD, what are we up to? We're up to the third one, is never ever changed. Just sitting on your hard drive, never amended. It's the same thing for when I use my razor tool. So I'm going to drag along here to go to my first one. And what you'll notice is, actually I'm going to zoom out. Now to select more than one, I want to drag both of these along to the right. Okay, so got my selection tool, and I'm just going to click anywhere up here and drag a little box. And you can see as I drag it, it kind of selects a couple. So I've got more than one thing selected. And I'm going to grab, remember, the top part of it's best, drag it along. And what I did earlier is we used the razor tool, but it's exactly the same look. I razored it before, but look, it's all still in there, all the extra junk. Okay, so it never goes away. It's just trimmed the view of it. Now, I was undoing there. If you've never used undo before, it's edit, undo, or I'm using Command Z because I'm fancy with my shortcuts. Okay, so I'm going to drag that back. Great. And let's do the last one together. Let's grab this guy, and I'm just going to edit via the waveform. So I'm going to drag it to about there, okay, and drag the end in, go about there, and drag it in. And even without checking it, I'm probably going to be pretty close. So this is considered a rough cut. I'm just going to kind of drag it all up, cut it all up, and then we'll look at it in a little bit more detail, fixing things. It's best to kind of do a real rough cut first, just get everything in before going into the details. One other little kind of like using Premiere Pro thing I want to just be clear on is if I click on this and I want to get rid of it, just delete key. So just select it, delete it, easy stuff, I know. All right, one last thing I want to kind of share with you before I go is just like how I got to these files and just prepare you for the future. So when I recorded this course, this 05XD is my raw footage that came out of my camera. It's shot at a modest HD. Okay, we're going to talk about HD versus 4K later on, but it's a modest size, okay, good enough quality, and it came out at 1.2 gigabytes. It is huge, okay, and that's the footage that comes out of my camera that I have to work on. So you as the editor, you'll be given files this sort of size. So what I do for this course though is I took that same file and I compressed it right down. It's still HD, but I kind of like lowered the quality of it. So it's not going to look as pretty as the original, but you can see the file size is like 15 megabytes versus 1.2. So know that you're getting this sort of stuff. In this course, you can, everything's quite small, and it's I guess it's not realistic. Okay, so you're gonna finish this course and go, yay, my computer can handle it, and then all of a sudden you get given this big giant 4K footage and your computer kind of, I don't know, catches fire. So just to know that I do some pre-edits. And the other thing I do as well is if you end up recording yourself, like I do a lot, be prepared. I've kind of made these all look like I've done 1 or 2 takes and then got it good, but let's look at 5. Okay, so this one here, to get this last little bit where I actually get it, I'll set assignments, not homework. Okay, I finally get it, and it takes about 20 seconds, but it took me 6 minutes to get that 20 seconds. Okay, so if you're filming yourself, it's hard. Even I'm like super experienced at filming myself, and it's, man, there's a lot of takes. So I've cut all this down to make it smaller, and know that it's hard to film yourself. All right, that is it. You should have something that looks reasonably like that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, recap, timeline is where also your sequence. Okay, your project window is all your files. Over here is your program window. That's what's going to be exported. And over here, if you double click on something, remember, source window. Okay, just the preview window. All right, on to the next video. All right, it is class project time. Don't think of it as homework. Think of it as exciting practice that you get to do. Okay, so what I do to facilitate this is in your exercise files. Okay, there is exercise files. There is a folder called Z class projects. Okay, Z just to get it down the bottom here. So in class projects, open it up. The main one you want is this Word doc. Okay, so open up class project notes. Okay, and you'll see this. Okay, there'll be more class projects coming. I'm kind of adding them as I go through the course. So this is class project 1, basic editing. So I want you to do a couple of things. Okay, first one is add the last 2 files. So over here we've got 01xd, 02, 03, 04. So we've got those already. There's 2 more to go in. So add those 2 files from your exercise files. They're called 05 and 06. Okay, and edit them either using the razor or the dragging method. Okay, so snip them up with the razor tool or just drag the ends like we learnt. Up to you. It has a little bit of extra level in it. The 06, I want to show you real quick, has more than one kind of good edit. I did a couple of versions, so you're going to import both 05 and 06. Okay, but 06, if I drag it to my timeline here, okay, and just kind of scoot across, you'll notice that, well, I just want to show you, I do this version, and I get that one's okay. Okay, so a couple of false starts there where I give up, and then this long chunk here is actually okay. And when I get a good take, it's very common, okay, to have a bit of a clap at the end. Not because I'm so great, but listen. See, that one's all right, clap. It's just so that when I'm editing later on, I can see in the timeline a spike. Because say I've done it 10 times and I'm not sure which one it is, I'll clap after the ones that I think are okay. So I think that one's okay. No clap after this one, so I think that one is bad. And then I get started again over here. I half started, give up, and you can see this long chunk here is another option. Okay, so you can decide whether it's this one. Have a little listen through, do some editing is what I guess I'm trying to say is pick this one or this first one after here, okay, and decide which one you want to use. They're both the same, just different kinds of deliveries. So that's the kind of homework. But what I want you to do is do that. This one doesn't require any submission. You don't have to like send it to me to prove it because it's just something simple. Okay, I want you to do it, but I don't want you to prove it. Karma will come and get you if you pretend to do it. Okay, so give it a go, give it a practice. One thing you can do is just let me know you've started the course. So on social media, just let me know that you've started the Premiere Pro course. Kind of, yeah, interesting to know who gets started. They're all, use the hashtag Premiere Pro, okay, on any of the social medias, they all work. Okay, so if you're an Instagram person, I'm Bring Your Own Laptop. Twitter, I'm Dan Loves Adobe. On Facebook group, there's a link to the Facebook group and there's a link to the LinkedIn group. Okay, if you can't find either of them, okay, through the link, just type in Bring Your Own Laptop group on both of those and you can go and just let me know. Yay, we got started. So go give it a go. If it goes horribly wrong, I will do it in the next video so you can see me doing it and how I would approach it. Yeah, I'll see you there. All right, I hope the practice went well. I'm going to show you a little bonus for this one, is file edit. It's not painful, it's just a long way. You can double click anywhere there's space. Okay, so it's a lot easier if you're in list view. Does work in icon view if you can see a space, just double click in it and you go to import. Cool, huh? So I'm going to click the first one, hold shift, grab 05 and 06. Go to list view because I hate thumbnail view. There, I said it. Okay, 7th video in. I said I wouldn't. Anyway, thumbnail view's fine. I'm going to grab 5. Okay, I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to add 6. I often just dump them all in, especially if they're easy like this and in a kind of nice little order. Then I zoom in and I have a little look and I go, I know that that chunk there is the only one. So which way do I do it? You're going to get an extra bonus in this one as well. Okay, so that looks probably about right. Now instead of dragging it, you ready for your secret trick? If you double click, do you have to double click? No, just single click. I think I always double click. Doesn't matter. Click in between here and just hit delete on your keyboard. You can see it just deletes the space. Cool, huh? Okay, and I'm going to move along, and I'm going to, which one did I pick? I'll pick the one with the clap afterwards. I'm going to jump to my razor tool. Delete you. So this is kind of how I work. That's very typical of kind of how I work. And what you wouldn't have noticed there is I jumped to my razor tool. It's like this super used one. Okay, and you can see if I hover above it, can you see it has C in brackets? Okay, that says if I hit my C key, okay, it goes to the razor tool. Think chopping with a razor, okay, or cutting with a razor. It's probably better. Nobody chops with a razor. And what we're going to do as well, so two shortcuts is C, the other one is V. I'm forever toggling between V for move, okay, and C for razoring. Click in between to delete it, and then just give it a little check to see how good these little transitions are. Hit spacebar. So throughout the course, you'll be working on... Yeah. So that's all right. And this one here, drag it here. That one there is just a little bit, I do a little bit of looking for no good reason. So I'm just going to jump in, go back to my V tool. Okay, so my selection tool, I'm just going to grab it and drag it in. Click in the space, hit delete. Oh, look at us, editing stuff. All right, that is your homework done. Good work. High five if you've done it. Let's get on to some more Premiere Pro-ness. Hello, it is time for color correction time. Before we get started, I just want to quickly define two terms for you that are important. One is color correction, the other one is color grading. And color grading, okay, grading, my accent, is a term that gets used a bit flippity flop, okay, but you need to be reasonably clear about it when you are working as a video editor. Somebody asks you to do some color correction or color grading, they're very different jobs. So color correction is fixing photos, color grading is giving a specific look, okay, or a feel to it. So color correction would be things like, hey, the lights aren't great. We need to kind of, play with the shadows or make it brighter, okay? Fixing broken video, okay? Color grading is adding an effect or a look, okay? Think Instagram filters, think, I want this film to look a little bit more cinematic, or I want to make it look like an old-time film, okay? So you give it a look. That's color grading. Okay, so we're going to do color grading in this course, but not right now. We're going to do color correction. So let's jump in now and I'll show you how to do it. All right, let's do some color correction. Okay, so to do it, we're going to open up a panel under Window, and there's one called Lumetri Color. Click on that one. It should kind of open up on the side here. The next thing we need to do is, let's say we're going to correct 01 XD intro. So what we need to do is put our playhead in a position that's a good general representation of the footage. Okay, and because mine's shot on a tripod and nothing's moving, it's pretty easy. You can pretty much have it anywhere in here and color correct it. But let's just say, for instance, I'm going to drag in 01 again. Okay, so you can have more than one instance of this. Okay, and what you can do, there's no point color correcting there, okay, because color correcting my back is not a good not a good way to color correct, because it's going to actually look different when my actual skin tones are all involved. Okay, so remember, when you're color correcting, different from Photoshop. Okay, Photoshop you just do one shot, whereas video you actually have to kind of try and guess it for this whole entire thing. So you need to find somewhere kind of in the middle. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to scroll down, find a bit where I'm looking vaguely intelligent. And what we're going to do is we're going to select 01. You might have to zoom in and out to kind of move your way along, but have 01 selected. Okay, and all we need to do is click on, over here where it says basic correction, click on that word once. What will happen is click it again to close it. So there's a bunch of different categories in here, and it can look very confusing in here. I get confused still. Okay, so basic correction is the one we want. Okay, and what we're looking for is we're going to do the quick and easy auto option. So we make sure the actual clip is selected, click on auto, and it didn't do a whole lot. Okay, what did it actually do? You can test it by going to basic correction. See this little tick next to it, just to turn it off, on, off, on. Just did a little bit of work with the shadows and the blacks, so just minusing it a little bit. The reason that is that I spent a bit of time getting my kind of room set up with the right lighting, and I mess around with my camera to try and not have to do a whole lot of color correction afterwards. Yours might be changing loads of different things. So that is color correcting this one. The one thing we might do though is that it's very small in comparison to the rest of it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to kind of adjust your workspace, because this has kind of crowded it out. Yours might be looking a little differently. Okay, but can you see in between any of these panels, there's little double lines appear. So this one here, I can kind of, between my source monitor and my program monitor, I can click, hold, and just kind of like drag it across. You can see I could just get more screen real estate, if you will. Okay, and same with the timeline, you can drag it down to get a bit more space. Drag it out this way. So you will find the happy medium for your computer screen. Okay, I've got a really big 4K LG monitor. I love it. But when I'm working on my laptop, I actually have to have a different kind of view. So drag it around to kind of something that looks nice for you. Now that that's done, I need to kind of acknowledge that this one here is not done. Nothing's been changed in this one because I had this one selected when I did it, and this one hasn't been done. So I can do the same thing, find a good middle kind of shot, and then with it selected, click auto, and it's done basically the same thing. Okay, why? Because it was all shot at the same time. Work our way along. Is there any that are different? Auto, same. It's the same. Same footage. Okay. Okay, if you've got like windows open, it's going to be different every time because you're using the light from the window to change, and there's clouds and the sun moves. Okay, so that's the auto feature, super easy. Let's look at doing it manually. Okay, so I've got this one here. I'm going to go to Edit, Copy. I'm going to scrub along a little bit using the middle of the little rubber band thing. Bring my CTI along here. It's wherever this playhead ends up being is where it's going to paste. Okay, so if you leave it behind, even though you've scrubbed along, it's going to paste wherever this thing is. So we're going to go to Edit, Paste. I'm going to use the shortcuts from now on. So that's Command V for a Mac and Control V for a PC. So I'm going to use those shortcuts from now on. Pretty common. So I've got this one, okay, which has been auto-corrected. I'm going to duplicate it again. So I'm going to put one just next to it, and I'm going to go to Edit, Paste. I'm going to use a shortcut. Look at that. I'm doing down here just to kind of show you kind of a different ways of working. So you do the same. Have two versions. This first version has been done with auto. The second version here, okay, we are going to let's go to Reset. Okay, so I've got the second option selected. Reset it, so it's back to normal. And what I'm going to do is show you how I manually correct. So I find weirdly that working from this tone. Okay, this is where you start in tone and you start at the bottom up. I find it gives you a more, it works more, I find that's the best order to work in. Working from exposure down I find is quite tough. But working up, doesn't matter, there's no right or wrong. But basically all you're doing is dragging it back and forth. So I've got that selected, grab blacks, drag it left, right, and don't be afraid to give it a good drag. You know, people in my class are like, ooh, just going up a little bit, and just go down a little bit, just go forward and back. You can always go back to 0. Okay, and all I'm doing is, I'm not even looking where the slider is. You can't see me, but my head is pressed against my screen, okay, and I'm just kind of going back and forth, and then I get slower and slower until I find that feels good. So when I'm dragging it, it's blurry. It's because I've turned my quality down to quarter earlier on, because while it's static, it tries to go to full resolution. It's only when it's either playing or you're manipulating it, it goes down to the quarter. I'm going to be probably for the rest of this course, go back to full, because my laptop's pretty good. You might have to toggle between half and a quarter the whole way through this whole course just to get the best out of your laptop. Okay, so I'm going to go to full. I'm going to drag it back and forth, close to the screen. Here we go. That feels nice to me. Okay, and it's a lot different than the -5. And this is just my preference. Okay, same with the weights. I'm going to go up and down. I'm not caring where it is. I'm just kind of going back and forth and to there. So it's up a little bit. So the same, start big until I find it. And you can see that one went up 5. I'm not watching the numbers. I'm just clicking, holding with my mouse, looking crazy by getting real close to my screen until I find what I'm looking for. You see -6, whatever, 0.6. Why even bother? Okay. And exposure. Hey, I ended up at 0. That never happens. Okay, but yeah, so you can see my manual ones are a lot different than my auto. Okay, and the difference is, let's have a look. Click here, click here, click here, click here. Which one do you like more? You'd be like, that was a big waste of time because they look pretty close. I like my one better because I took some time to do it. But to be honest, when I'm doing this kind of, I'll probably manually edit, okay, or manually correct for an important video. If I was doing a documentary, I'd spend a lot more time doing it. A short film, loads of time. These how-to videos, if I'm all honest, I just click on auto and just move on. Okay, and maybe not the intro, but definitely for the 100th video, I just kind of click on auto. All right, one last thing we're going to do before we go is saturation. So this little slider down here I ignored. We are going to look at saturation. We're going to go left, all right. Do we want it more saturated, less saturated? Mine are pretty good. Like the camera and the lens and the lighting's all very nice, so I'm not going to mess around with it, but that might be the last thing is I often go in and just bump it up a teeny tiny bit. I just want a little bit more, always a little bit more. So just a teeny tiny bit more saturation, and probably 105. You can, I didn't show you that, did I? You can drag them, or you can click in here and just type over the top 105 on my keyboard, hit enter, and I can just bump it up a little bit. Basically, in terms of this footage, you can only go as high as my skin tone will allow, because if you go too high, I get a big suntan or a sunburn. Okay, so I'm going to go to 105. And when I said it was the last thing, I don't mean it's the last thing. I mean, this is the third to last. We're going to look at tint and temperature. Don't worry too much about these words. It's blue to red and then green to magenta. So depending on, cameras these days are shooting really lovely balanced colors. Okay, so very rare that I actually have to go in and mess with temperature other than when I'm color grading, giving it a certain look. But let's say you've shot it inside and you are shooting in somewhere that has like lots of fluorescent lights, okay, those big long tubes, okay, you might find it's just a little bit on the blue side, okay, just a little bit like, and it looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it being a little bit blue. It's called a color cast, and it doesn't matter if you like it kind of bluey. It's great. It might be a sad moment in the film, but I often like mine quite warm for what I'm doing. So you could move it into the oranges, okay, or the reds, or way down here in the blues. Okay, so you can kind of find your happy medium again. I'm finding mine's just here in the middle. Same with magenta and green. This happens less. Okay, it's mainly to do with temperature. The tint is moving between these colors. Okay, and again, it'll depend on sometimes a lens that you're using on your camera can give it to you. It might be that it's shot in a room with green walls, so green's cast everywhere, so you might have to do some adjustments to tint and temperature. But most of the time, it's tone, starting from the bottom, working your way up, a little bit of saturation, and every now and again, a bit of temperature and tint. All right, one thing before I go that I want to just tidy up this color correction is we need to do two things. First of all, let's delete three things. Let's delete this. Okay, we don't need those. They were just like a trial. The other one is we didn't actually add auto to this last one. Okay, so we did it to number 4, number 5, but not number 6. It's all still at 0. And this brings up a really good point. So my playhead is over here. So basically, my playhead is displaying this in the sequence. So I'm actually looking at this. But I can actually have this selected over here, but I'm still viewing that guy. You can kind of see I have this on. I can have lots selected, but my CTI displays it in the program window. So that confusing explanation, let's just demo it. So I'm viewing it here, but I've got that selected. So if I go through and I go, nip, 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 I'm like, why isn't it working? It's not adjusting. Yeah, and you start dragging it around. What's happening is if I click over here, it has adjusted it, okay, but the one I had selected. So I'm going to hit reset. Another good point and to drop in here is reset only works for the tone. Watch this. If I go, okay, add your own sound effects, okay, and I hit reset, it resets all of this, but not these guys. So 0 and 0, or just drag them close enough to it. All right, so we're back to this. We're going to click auto. Lovely. All right, now that is it for color correction for the moment. We'll do a bit more hardcore stuff later in the course, but for the moment, you are color correction good enough. Let's carry on to the next video. Hi everyone, welcome to the video. We're going to be looking at transitions in this one. Transitions is, we'll be doing one at the moment. It's just this. Watch for this. It goes from this video to the next one and we just do a cut. Just jumps across. But that is a transition. Okay, we're going to look at other ones like, ready? Cross dissolve. Ooh. Okay, we'll look at another one where it fades to black in between. Ooh, we'll fade it to white in between. Okay, different transitions. We'll also get it to kind of like dip to black at the end here. There you go. We'll also talk about pre-roll and post-roll and what it is, and we'll do some adjustments to our workspace. Yeah, let's get started. All right, let's look at our transitions. So we've done a transition already, right? Just a cut. Watch. I'm going to put my playhead there, hit spacebar. That is a transition. Okay, but we want to do some fancier transitions, but you'll use just a lot, just so you know, cuts are really common. So what I want you to do, I'm going to show you some basic ones here. We'll do some more fancy ones later in the course, but I want you to just keep an eye out. Now that you're a video editor, just look at your favorite TV show, your Netflix, look at your YouTube channels that you watch, and just see how they do their edits, just to build up a bit of like a vocabulary about it, just get a feeling for what you like and what they kind of convey. So the very next TV show you watch that's not my video course, go and just keep an eye out for like the transitions, just to get an idea of how they work. So we're going to look at some of the basics to find your transitions. They kind of hide them. They're in the effects panel, and in my particular screen layout, I've got to click this little double arrow here, and it's kind of, there it is, there, effects. Okay, and it jumps across. So that is painful because I don't use info very much. I don't use libraries at the moment very much, media browser. We're not using these in this essentials course. Markers, history, there's lots of stuff we don't need. Okay, and they're all kind of lumped in here. We will use effects a lot, and we'll use the project window a lot. Okay, so what we're going to do is just click on the little, see the little burger menu next to the word history, or any of these ones, go to close panel. Okay, next one, close panel. Effects we're going to leave on, info, so I'm just clicking on the word, libraries, and then the little stripy lines appear, close panel. I'm just going to get it down to 2, nice and clean and clear. Okay, if you accidentally, I bet you half of you have gone through and actually closed the wrong one. Okay, so if you've gone, oops, effects is gone, or your project's gone, just go to window, there is the effects again, turn it back on. If yours has gone horribly wrong, what you can do is go to window, workspaces, and go to editing, and then go back into here, workspaces, and go to reset to save layout. The problem is Lumetri Cut is going to close, okay, and all these windows down here are going to reopen, but you can kind of get back to here eventually. So these two are what we need most of, and the one we're going to use now is called video transitions. So there's a little chevron here, a little arrow, click on it, and you can scroll down, and there is transitions. So we'll look at the main ones to get started with, and the mainest onest is the one under dissolve. Hit the little arrow. There's this one called cross dissolve. This is the main one. Okay, so cuts a lot of the time, cross dissolves the rest of the time. And all we need to do is we need to, I'll show you what happens. Click, hold, and drag it, and we're going to put it between number 1 and number 2. And you can kind of see, it's like, where do I put it? Just kind of dump it in there. Okay, regardless of where it is, and we'll have a look at how to adjust that afterwards. It's very teeny tiny, so we have to zoom in. So get your playhead where it needs to be, and let's zoom in a little bit, hitting plus on your keyboard, okay, or struggling along with the little rubber band. Okay, and you can see there's a cross dissolve in there. So I'm going to click on it, okay, just select it in the middle, hit delete. That's how you get rid of a transition, and I'm going to add it again. So dragging this on, and you'll notice that there's a way of putting it there. I can kind of like have it on the right hand side, can have it on this side. It just depends on what kind of like dissolve you want. Do you want it to be mainly this side disappearing and this side kind of like starting off fresh, okay, without any sort of fuzziness? Or you want a kind of an equal blend, okay? Most of the time, stick it in the middle, okay? Bit of both. Whereas this, you can drag it afterwards and kind of decide that I want it mostly on this side. So it just means that, can you kind of see the dissolve's already finished before you get in there? Okay, it doesn't really matter. Okay, at this stage at least. Okay, so I'm going to do cross dissolve right in the middle. I'm going to grab my playhead back, hit spacebar. Oh, look at that, soft transition. Dan moving across the screen. So that is how to add a transition. Let's look at how to adjust it. So let's say that you want it to be more of a Scooby-Doo kind of like extended stretch. Okay, so that was a bit quick. you can just grab either ends of these, okay? And when I say grab them, use your selection tool, okay? And just hover above the end till you see this little icon. Click it, hold it, drag it, and just drag it up. It'll drag both sides. And you've basically doubled the length of that cross dissolve. So move your playhead back here, hit spacebar. Experience designer using the software Adobe That is very too purposeful. You'd have to be doing something other than a how-to video to really pull that off. I feel like, just so you know, like a cross dissolve can be used quite simply, okay, and it doesn't mean a whole lot. But when you extend it out a bit, it's kind of playing with like time. It's saying that time has passed. Watch. So lots of time has passed in this one. You can use it for different effects. I'm not going to go into too much detail on what the meanings behind the different transitions are. Okay, it's kind of another course, but in this case, a nice simple transition. Okay, I might speed mine up. You can make it smaller as well, just to kind of change between scenes. I don't really like it here, but hey, you'll use it in lots of different projects we do through this course. Let's look at another one. So I'm going to leave the cross dissolve there, and I'm going to grab my middle of my little stretchy rubber band thing, and I'm going to find the gap between O2 and O3. Let's have a look at some of the other ones in dissolve. So dip to black is a nice one. Okay, stick it between here, hit spacebar. During this course, nice simple one. Okay, just transition between two different videos, dip to black. Let's scroll along a little bit further. You can dip to white. Let's have a little look. UX projects. Now this course. Okay, just a different way of transitioning. Let's not, film dissolve looks a lot like an additive dissolve, look a lot like cross dissolve. There are lots of other ones in here. You're happy, like, I can't really stop you now from going and playing with them all. Some of them, like morph cut is super hardcore and it's going to freak your machine out. So we'll look at morph cut later on, but you can play around with these at the moment. We will cover that later on in the course if you do want to hold off, but you don't have to. There's only two in here that you're not allowed to use because page peel, okay, and where's barn doors? Is barn doors in this one? Wipe barn doors. So barn doors and page peel you are banned from using. It's against the law, okay? They are terrible, terrible transitions. You are going to go and try them out. I know. You'll see that they're terrible, and if you find somebody actually else that's using page peel in their video editing, make sure you, I'm serious, contact a member of staff and tell people those are really bad transitions. Anyway, what else do I need to do? Oh yeah, let's look at kind of other uses for, say, dip to black. So let's go back to dissolve. Let's go to the end of our video. Okay, dip to black, even though it's kind of like a transition as well, you can actually just stick it on the end and watch this. It does a nice, it's upside down, so I wear lots. So it dips to black, a nice way of finishing my clip like this, and you can drag it way out so it kind of starts fading nicely. Because it doesn't mean anything and it's upside down, so I wear lots. There you go. And another thing before we go, I'm going to talk about post-roll and pre-roll. So I'm going to click on this dip to black and get rid of it. I'm going to explain what pre-roll and post-roll is, and why I sit around like an idiot at the end of these doing this. See, watch, playing. And then I sit there like an idiot for a while. You're probably like editing the video going, what's it doing? It's so that I can do transitions like that. It gives me scope after I've filmed to kind of go like this, add this transition, scope it out, drag it out so that there's... Okay, can you see? Now I've got scope to do it. If you finish and the first thing that the talent does, or the actor does, or in this case me, is finish, then quickly stand up, there's nothing you can really do at the end other than just cutting it, which is a little bit lame. You'll notice at the beginning of lots of my videos as well. Let's go back. So that's pre-roll, post-roll. So post is an afterwards. So after the footage, try and get your talent to sit there for a little while and feel like an idiot. But let's have a look at this one. So I'm looking at O1 again. You'll notice that I do a lot of, I always got post-roll because I'm always thinking about something. So you see, it's just a little bit of like me being a dork. It just means I can do the same thing. Grab my razor tool, slice it off there. Okay, delete that bit, grab my effects, grab my dip to black. My thing's freaking out. I'm going to use my selection tool, drag it on. You can't drag it onto the audio. Okay, so I was trying to drag it onto the audio, then it's like, it won't work. You might have already had that problem in the course. Okay, but just make sure it's dragged up to the video part at the beginning. Okay, and now I got some pre-roll. There you go, see? And post-roll. That's what it is. It's more just showing you. So why does Dan do all that stuff at the ends and beginnings? That's because of that. All right, that is the basics of transitions. We'll do some fancier bits later on, but it's a nice, good introduction to it. Let's move on to the next video. Hey everyone, this video we are going to look at adjusting the video's volume or leveling or balancing. Okay, basically what it means is we need the volume to be at a certain level. Okay, at the moment it's too quiet and you have no idea. You're like, what? Sounds fine. Okay, but we need to kind of reach a consistency with the rest of the world. So we need to be able to send this video off and it not to be too quiet and not to be too loud compared to everything else that's either on YouTube or on the television or at the cinema. Okay, so this needs to be balanced to make sure it's right. So let's go and do that. Okay, so what do? First of all, we need to see the volume. So I've got my playhead amongst my video clips. I'm going to hit spacebar. You probably notice this thing jumping up and down. Okay, that is our volume. But it depends on your laptop. Okay, if you can't see that, go to Window and find Volume. Where is it? Under Audio Meters. Okay, so turn that on, turn that off. Okay, so what we need to do though is we need to see the actual measurements on it, and it's too small. Like we did between here and here, okay, we can adjust the gap between this and watch. See, no numbers, numbers. Yours might already have numbers. Okay, so drag it out minimally to where you can see the numbers. It can be really big, it doesn't matter, okay, as long as you can see the numbers. Now if I hit spacebar, so you can kind of see in here that it is bouncing in between, kind of gets up to 6, but mostly it's bouncing between this minus 24 and minus 18. Okay, weirdly it uses 0 as the highest and it uses negatives. Don't ask me why. Okay, but it is bouncing about here. Okay, so it's fine, but it's just not loud enough. What is loud enough? So dialogue, okay, people talking in videos should be bouncing somewhere between the minus 6 and minus 12. Somewhere kind of in here, not past minus 12 really, just somewhere in this zone. So how do we adjust it? Okay, first of all, we're going to use the first video. So we're going to click in here, have this one selected, give it a click. Okay, so it kind of creeps up there when I'm yelling, but most of the time it's a bit low. So to raise it, the easiest way to raise it is down here in your audio track. If you haven't already, remember you can click the bottom of it and kind of drag it bigger. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, see this line that's kind of hovering in the middle here? Okay, that is your volume. That's the easiest way to do the volume. Okay, so at the moment it's set to 0. If I click it, hold it, and drag it all the way up, can you see? So it's raising it by 3 decibels, 7 decibels, way too high. I'm up at 13. See what it's going to do. Hold your phone, ready? Wow! Very loud. Okay,
using the software Adobe.
It's getting into the reds. So what you need to do is you need to come back here and figure out where it is. Okay, just so that looks about fine. Bouncing roughly in there. Doesn't have to be perfect. And you'll notice that I start off real excited in all my videos. Hi everyone! It's getting a bit of consistency. Later on what we might do is lower that down a tiny bit once we get a few more skills. But at the moment, consistently, I've raised it up by about 7 decibels, okay, to make it bounce in this right area. So do the same over here, about there, about 7 decibels. It doesn't have to be super perfect, okay. I'll show you more perfect ways of doing it later on, but for the moment, and not just for the moment, but most of the time, you just grab it, drag it along. The other cool thing you can do when you're manually doing it is you can hit spacebar and let it play and drag it while it's actually moving. Watch.
Freelance project that I have on at the moment. It needs both a website and an app.
Okay, so you can kind of just let it roll and just move it up and down just to kind of get it where you want it. If you do have a lot of stuff to do, okay, manually like that, you could go through, because we've only got 6 videos, easy, done. Okay, and if they're all different, then you're going to be raising and lowering them all differently. So there's no point doing like a bulk raise it by 7 decibels, because you might have, you might be shooting outdoors or in different rooms, so the audio is going to be different levels. But this is all the same. So what we can do is we can grab this, we can right click it, okay, anywhere on the clip, go to audio gain, they call it. Okay, so we want to add to it. We're going to adjust the gain by 7 decibels, and the line doesn't move, but watch the graph in the background. You see it gets bigger by 7 decibels. You've done the same thing.
You don't even need to know what those
You've done the same thing. It just looks different down here. Okay, so this one, the line's raised, but the bar graph, the waveform, okay, the little hills and valleys stay the same. But doing it that way, okay, using audio gain, you've essentially done the same thing. It's going to sound the same on the other side, but you've done it, it just kind of looks different down here. When do I use both? I'm going to show you the automatic one in the next video. You're like, what? There's an automatic view? Automatic way of fixing it? There is, and that's the way I do. But we need to know about these things, what the line does. Trust me, we need it for the course later on. Okay, but for the moment, I'm going to leave the 5th and 6th one, and we'll use that for auto in a second. All right, let's get on to the next video. Hi everyone, my audio is too low. If I play it, you can see it bouncing around in here. It is too low. I need to raise it up. Imagine if there was a button though that would do it all for me, and I just had to select on the clip and then click a button called auto match. Look at the graph, it went up, undo, redo. There is such a button, and I will show you where it is right now in this tutorial. Alright, to fix our audio automatically, we'll do it to the last one. We'll use 06, have the track selected, okay, or the clip selected. Track is the whole length of it, and the clip is the actual unit that's on it. Now, in case of video, let's go to Window, let's go down to Essential Sound. That's where the magic is. It should open up next to our Lumetri color. There it is there. Okay, so Essential Sound. What we're going to do is click on 06, okay, XD, and then click on, you probably won't be able to see loudness. I've used this before. Okay, so click on the word loudness to open it and close it. Okay, and you want to find this one that says Auto Match. Give it a click and watch this. Oh, it happened a bit quick. I'm going to undo it. Can you watch down a bit, redo it, up a bit, undo, redo. Okay, just raises it all up. Let's do the same for 5. Okay, move along, grab this one, say dialogue, go auto match, happy days. The other thing you'll notice is that if I undo it, okay, undo, you'll notice that, see this thing here is kind of like dulled out, but when I click on it and go to keep an eye on this effects, I'm just going to add the auto match. Can you see this glows yellow? Just to give you a visual cue that that one's been done, because later on you might come back to this in a week and go, did I auto match these? I'm not sure. Did I adjust the volume? I can't tell. Anything that has a little yellow cube means you've messed around with it. This one we did with the gain. Remember, we right clicked it and went into the audio gain and raised it by 7 decibels. This one was different. We went through and raised it up. Okay, so just a visual cue that you've done something to the audio. And that has automatically how to fix your audio. It's pretty cool. All right, that is it. I will see you in the next video. Hi everyone, we are going to create something called a lower third. It's called a lower third because it's lower in the third part of the screen. Okay, not halfway, not on the top. There's top third, there's a lower third. Okay, and it doesn't really matter if it's on the right hand side or the left hand side. We are doing a lower third. And if you want to call it just text on a screen, that's what it is as well. Lower third is more like a generic term for something. Like traditionally it's this, I'll show you. So let's have a look, news bulletin. And watch this guy's stuff appear here. Where is it? Waits for a second and then gives you at the bottom a little lower third that says this guy's name is Robin Brandt and he's a China correspondent. Same thing for this one here. So another one. So that's like a traditional lower third, but you can use it for anything. It's the same term. Okay, I use it quite a bit for, let's have a look, for social media stuff. So when I start talking, you've probably seen it at the beginning of this course. Just gives you, like, it's still a lower third, it's in that position, the lower third of the screen. It could be a logo, yeah, or text, typically not an image. But yeah, let's work out how to actually do that lower third now in Premiere Pro. Alright, to create our lower thirds text, we are going to use the text tool. There he is there, the bottom of this little toolbar. Okay, click on it once, and then click where you want it to get started. I'm going to kind of start it about here, because I know it's going to type off to the right. Click once, start typing stuff. Your type might look different from mine. I'm Daniel Walter Scott. Okay, and to adjust the text, we're going to open up a panel. Okay, so we're going to work on Window. We're going to go to one called Essential Graphics. Click on that. It opens with this gang over here. So a lot of your time in Premiere Pro, okay, is going to be using Limit Color, Essential Sound, and Essential Graphics. So what we want to do is with our Move tool, have this selected, okay, and just make sure our playhead's kind of in the middle here, have it selected, and click on this one that says Edit. This is the best way of editing text in Premiere Pro. If you use the old titling thing, we're not going to use that anymore, just so you know. This is the replacement for titling if you have used it before. Okay, so we have that selected. We can change the text up here. So let's look at a couple of things. Let's change, we won't go through all the text features because centered, left align, right align, you can work out. There's a lot of just basic text features. Pick a font. We're going to pick anything. I'm going to pick one that I'm using lots of. Museo Sans. Museo, it's been way too long. Picking fonts, I'm going to use this one. Okay, and size-wise, drag it up, drag it down. Mine feels appropriate about that sort of size. Obviously, you want to design for the longest name you've got. If you've got a series of interviews and it's with Dan Scott, okay, it's very short, so you can do some stuff. But if you've got a really long name, I can't even guess a really long name, but Danielle Wallentarantino, you know, big long names. You're going to actually have to make sure that it kind of like starts over here. Okay, so we're going to get it to about there. Okay, and we are, how am I moving it? Okay, that's one question, is back to this arrow tool, okay, or the selection tool. So type tool for editing, arrow tool, and you can click anywhere on the word and just move it around. Okay, so get it to where you want and pick a font, pick a size. We've done that. What else do we want to do? Let's look at some of the more unique text features for Premiere Pro, and it's down here in this appearance panel. Okay, so let's have a little look at shadow. Okay, it adds a drop shadow. Actually, let's turn that one off. Let's look at background first. So let's click on background. Okay, you notice it puts a background behind my text just to kind of help pull it out. So let's say that I want to do background, but I'm going to do a black background. So it's got a background behind it. Let's change the color of it by clicking in this like little square here. Okay, and it's opened up on my other monitor. Okay, I want black. So black is, see this little circle? You can kind of drag it around to pick your color. If you want to change the hue, see this little slider here? Say that I want pink. I slide it down to here, and then I move this around to decide on the shade of pink that I want. Okay, in my case, I just want it to be black. So I'm going to drag it all the way up here, and instead of just kind of like getting it close, just drag it past. Okay, so I've kept my finger on my mouse, I'm dragging, and I'm dragging way past where it needs to go, just so it gets really jammed up in that corner. Then I've let go of my mouse, and I've clicked OK. So I've got a black box in the background here. I'm going to change this one here, the size around it. Okay, and we're going to drag it up, click, hold, drag, drag, drag. I'm going to drag it right up. Can you see what it is? Okay, so it adds a box around it, and I like the opacity. So you don't, you want it to be solid. You can play with this slider here, drag the opacity right up. Okay, so have a play around with these. Okay, get your name in there. Well, probably it's probably weird having your name. Type it in, put my name. Get the opacity how you want it. Get the size how you want it, and we will look at drop shadow. How do I show you the drop shadow really well? Let's turn background off. Okay, and let's look at shadow. I'm going to do the same thing. For some reason, the default is like yucky gray, and then it's transparent out. I don't know why. It's the default anyway. It is at the moment. So I'm going to make it full black. Okay, and I'm going to leave the opacity probably, and I'm just going to kind of show you the basics for a drop shadow. You probably know how to do a drop shadow, but I'm going to extend it out. Okay, let's move it up here to make it easier to see. You can see it there. Okay, there it is there. So you've got, we're not going to cover this too much, but you've got distance, okay, and you've got how fuzzy it is this last one. You see it kind of gets more blurry, and if I bring it right in, it's nice and sharp. It's up to you what you want to do. You can expand it around the outside of it. Basically, this is what I do. This is the direction. Can you see if I grab the size and I drag this, you can kind of drag it around, click it, just move it around, you'll get a feel for it. Can you see it changing up the top here? So what I do is often straight up and down, okay, or I've spun mine around twice. Okay, so I'm going to set mine back to 0. Okay, so it's straight up and down. I might go to actually 80 degrees, so it's pointing straight down. I'm going to lower it right down. And I want the blurry right down. What am I doing now, Dan? Just a real simple drop shadow, probably the opacity straight up, okay, and probably put that down to maybe something like 2. Just a real subtle, maybe 3, subtle drop shadow. There's no right or wrong for drop shadows, but that's my drop shadow anyway. Okay, so I'm going to actually leave the drop shadow on and turn the background on in one go, just because. Now, a couple other things I want to show you is where it appears in the timeline. I just randomly put it wherever my cursor was. Okay, so it's at the wrong time. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom out. So I'm going to hit minus, minus, minus. Okay, so I can see it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, because what you want to do is grab your selection tool and drag the center of it. Try not to grab the ends of it. Grab the center of it to kind of move the core of it along. And I'm going to kind of move it over here. Move my playhead and hit plus. Because remember, you zoom in to wherever this thing is. So if you zoom in over here, I'm zooming in the wrong bit. So get your playhead where you want it, zoom in a bit, and how long do you want it? So the duration is in there by default. Okay, you can change the duration of this, how long it appears on screen in your preferences. But for the moment, let's just say I want to shorten it up. I could just grab the side and just drag it in. Okay, and it just gets shorter. It's just on the screen for a short amount of time. Let's have a look. Okay, it's up to you. It's a bit of pacing to see how much information is there, how long does it need to be read. Okay, mine's pretty short, so I'm gonna I want it to kind of finish at the cut, okay, at the transition here, my weird cross dissolve, and it's gonna start here. Now, a couple of other things when you're working in here. How do you change the text? Grab the type tool and you can kind of just click on it in here and start working on it. Okay, change the spelling, or you can do it up in here. You can double click it. Okay, and just start typing over the top. Depends on how much text you have. Okay, you might have lots of different parts of text. At the moment, I've only got single. So you can just kind of like double click it up here and start typing over the top. Typing over the top. Okay, I'm going to undo, and that is it. Position it. The one thing when you are positioning text, now when it's going, it depends on its end format. So if it's going out to television, you need to be a bit more specific about how far away from the edges it is. Okay, so if I put it down here and I'm on a TV that doesn't quite suit my aspect ratio or the shape of my video, okay, it is going to get cut off. Okay, so it's very common to have something called title safe. Okay, whereas it's a dimension in and out. I'll show you that later on, a bit more detail, but just be wary that it's probably good design as well, just to kind of not have it right at the edges, but know that some screens, say you're doing this and it's going to be shown in on a TV inside of a showroom, and going to be on loop. You make like some sort of, I don't know, property developer, and it's just going through lots of videos, and it's going to be on loop. It's going to be on a physical TV, and it's going to maybe get cut off. So just keep it away from the edge. Now, one last thing before we actually move on is it just kind of appears like ta-da. Okay, what we might do is actually get it to fade in and fade out a bit more nicely. Now, there is animation, which we're going to do later, but to be honest, to do this, we're just going to use a technique we've already used. It's cheap, it's quick, and it works. We're going to go to our Effects panel. We're going to find under Video Transitions, we're going to find our Dissolve, and we are going to find Dip to Black. No, sorry, Cross Dissolve. Click it, drag it, and just dump it on the front here, and we'll dump it on the back as well. So we're using transitions normally to transition between two shots, but you can use it just like this, watch. Just fades in and fades out. Nice. You can obviously extend it like we did before to have it long fade in or a long fade out. And then just kind of time it. Can I read it before it disappears? Probably. Maybe a bit longer. All right, that is lower thirds or just text on the screen in the bottom right hand corner. Yeah, let's get on to the next video. Alright, it's time to export. We've imported some footage, we've done some basic cuts, some basic transitions, we've fixed the audio and the color. This is a lot of what we do in Premiere Pro. Now it's time to export it. Okay, so to export, we need to go to File, and we need to go to Export, and we need to go to Media. Now, weirdly, if that could be grayed out, happens a lot of the time. Okay, it's mainly because File, Export, it's grayed out because you don't have a sequence selected or your timeline selected. Can you see I kind of went in and I clicked my source panel, okay, or you can actually have multiple timelines within a Premiere project, which we'll do later on, but you need to kind of tell it like this one here is the one I want exported, because you could have 100 different sequences, okay, but it's this particular one I want exported. So that might catch you out. So File, Export, Media, got the blue line around it. Okay, export settings, here they are. Okay, now the quick version, okay, for this beginning course is basically all you need to do is pick H.264 and hit export, okay, and it will work and you'll get probably what you need. Okay, we'll go into a bit more detail later on when we get a bit more hardcore, but most of the time you're going to want MP4. Okay, so key set there. Confusingly, it's not this one that says MP4 or MPEG-4. It's something else completely. It's a .3GP file. Okay, you want this H.264 and this top one here. Okay, that'll give you what you need. This preset, which is the default, match source high bitrate, is going to give you a good quality one. The one thing you might change at this stage is the output name and location. You do it by clicking this little blue bit of words here. Okay, it takes the name from your what you named your sequence. So I'm going to put it where I'm going to put mine on my desktop, just because. Okay, I'm normally more tidy than this. Okay, you can click it on my desktop and I'm going to call it my XD intro, and it is going to be my February 20 and it is going to be called V1. Okay, you're always going to have a V2, especially working with clients. They'll come back to you, need a change, so you can have a V2, V3. Okay, never call it final. It'll be the kiss of death for your file. You're laughing because you've done it. Let's click on save. Call it anything you like. Yeah, doesn't matter. Then we'll click on export and it will chug away. I'll speed this up and see you in a second. All right, mine was pretty quick, depending on your computer and how much hardware it has and how much RAM you have and all that sort of good stuff. Yours might have taken a lot longer. Okay, and I'll just show you on the desktop. Where are you, Mr. Desktop? There you go. Screencast, this is the one I want. That's the one I exported. It's 118 megabytes. If I double click it, it's going to open up on my other screen. Everything's opening up on my other screen. And there you go, big HD video of me.
Hi there, my name is Daniel Scott and I'm an Adobe Certified Instructor. Together, you and me are going to learn how
I probably need that lower third to come in a lot earlier, right, when I'm actually saying my name. It's a bit weird coming in later on, but it's all there. Okay, oh, even the little fade out at the end. Cool. And that, my friends, is a lot of what we do in Premiere Pro. Create a project, dump in some footage, chop it up, make it look good, make it sound good, and then export it. We even got fancy and added some text that appears, okay, some lower thirds. All right, that's it for this kind of introduction to exporting. We'll look at bigger exporting later on in the course, but for the moment, well done. We've made a little video. Hope you're proud of yourself. I remember when I got to this stage, I was like, that's it. I know everything I need to know about Premiere Pro. And if that's all you need, then yeah, that's it. But for the rest of us, we're going to carry on. There's going to be a little project next video. I'll see you in that one. All right, it is class project number 2 time. This one's a little bit more involved. Okay, so what I have done is you need to save and close your current project. So in Premiere Pro, go to File and Close Project. You can quit it and come back in. Just save it and close it, okay, because we're going to start with a new project. So when you get back in, you can go to File, New Project. Okay, there it is, project. So it says there, do a new project, give it a name, okay, call it web course and give it the date that you are currently at in your life, okay, and then import 8 videos, okay, they are listed here, they're in the exercise files. I'll show you where here. So in the exercise files, under class projects, there's one called class project 2. This is what we're up to. So project 1 we kind of did earlier on. I set you just a couple of videos to add and there wasn't much else to it. This one's a little bit more involved because you can see there's kind of 8 videos in here. So this is not anything connected to the last project we did. This is another intro that I've done. Similar sort of thing. There's a bunch of these that you need to stitch together into a final kind of intro for a course. Okay, so you're going to have to create a sequence from it, and later on in the course when I set homework, I'm not going to be as explicit. Okay, because yeah, well, you're new and just getting you started, so I'm going to give you a little bit of help at the beginning, but then I'm going to abandon you at the end. Okay, let you do it all by yourself. So you need to create a sequence from them. Okay, and that can be painful to remember when you're new. Is so once you've imported them, okay, let's just pretend, is you right-click any of them and go to that new sequence from clip. Then rename it instantly, calling it web intro sequence. Okay, it's probably a good one, and then keep going with the project. Okay, so go to new sequence. I want you to add all 8 clips to your timeline. I want you to edit them any which way you want. Either use the razor tool, dragging the ends, probably practice with both. I want you to color correct it all. Okay, remember color correction. We're going to use the Lumetri color panel. And remember starting from the bottom and kind of working up, or you can just hit auto. That's okay, I'm allowing that. at least one transition. If you're deciding that you don't like cross dissolves, you might just do the transition to the lower thirds, which is another part of this project. Or you might just do dip to black at the end there. I just want you to prove that you can use it. You won't be judged on like how amazing this is. Later on, I'll give you more creative projects. At the moment, this is very just get it done and tick all these boxes. I want you to level all the audio, get the balancing all right. You can practice it manually, but also you can go through and do auto. Okay, remember under the essential sound panel, okay, you set it to dialogue and there's an auto match. I want you to have a lower third in there. Just do my name at the beginning. Okay, exactly what we did in this last course. Okay, so the type tool, click on it, pick a font. You might get it to fade in. I don't really mind. I'll probably put it in a more appropriate time than I did in the last project. And then I want you to export an MP4. Okay, and if you're doing it on your own, you're like, I'm not sharing my homework with him. You could probably stop in this video now, but I'm going to show you how to share it. Actually, don't stop, because I'm going to show you ways of sharing your videos, okay, because I want to see what you've done. We can get feedback. I'm going to show you a couple of different methods. It's going to be a little bit long for this bit, but I'm going to show you how to do it via YouTube, and then I'll show you how to do it via Behance. But yeah, hang around and we'll do that now. Actually, before we go off and do YouTube, I guess all I really need is a link to, I just need to see your video somehow. That's not password protected. Dropbox isn't great. It's a bit of a pain to use, but if you're going to, I'm going to add all this here. I'd love to share it either on this page. Okay, so you'll, on this particular page that you're watching, there'll either be an assignment section or a class project section or a comment section. It's different depending, things kind of move around, so I'm reluctant to tell you exactly where it is because then it moves. But you can also share it via social media, okay, as well as, I'd love to see it within, within this course here, but I'd also like to see it online. So just tag me in whatever program you use. So Instagram, tag me on Bring Your Laptop. Twitter, I am Downloads Adobe. Stick it on our Facebook group, stick it in the LinkedIn group. You can click on those links there and just tag it with Premiere Pro so that we can, it's easier when we're kind of like checking people's work, because I have some people help me do the comments just because I do some of them. I need lots of help because there's lots that come through. And if you tag it using hashtag Premiere Pro, it means we can just kind of filter and make sure that, hey, when I'm in a Premiere Pro reviewing mode, okay, one thing that also needs to happen is that if you do post on the social media, your job is to kind of comment on somebody else's, because I can't get to every single one sometimes. It just occasionally there's a big swarm and I just can't do it, or I'm on holiday. Okay, so if you do post something up, it'd be awesome if you could leave a response to someone else. It might be critical feedback, okay, or constructive criticisms. It might be just hey, nice work, I really like it. Okay, thumbs up, like. Okay, so make sure you do share your not just share your work, but actually comment on somebody else's. All right, let's look at YouTube. Okay, to share a link, okay, via YouTube is probably the easiest. It's nice and fast, it's free. You do need to go to youtube.com, log in as a user, okay, you have to sign up somehow, okay, and what I want you to do is then hit this little button here. Now, this button's gonna move. Honestly, every time I make a video about something like YouTube, they go and move the UI around on me. So look for something that looks like vaguely like this. It might be over here now, but it's a way to create a video. I'm going to upload a video. Okay, so what we want to do is select our file. We're going to grab the one from our desktop. You're going to grab the one that's your web intro, okay, your web course. Let's click open. It's going to start uploading. Okay, we're going to give it a name. Now the name we're going to use, this is put your name at the beginning, because otherwise we're all going to be called web intro and there's going to be this unruly way to check it. Okay, so I'll use my brother's name. So put in your name. Thank you, Ben. We're going to put in the name of the video. So this is the web course intro, and that is probably going to be it for this one, okay, because it's just here for testing. Okay, you can use it in your portfolio of stuff you've edited. That's totally cool. And basically all I want is this thing here. So you can click on this and it's copy the link. There's a few things you need to do though before it goes live, and we'll just do the bare minimum. You can read through it all, but basically what you want is you have to decide whether it's for kids or not, and definitely this is made for kids, it's fine, but you do have to agree to a bunch of stuff, so it's easier in this stage just to say, no, it's not made for kids. You have to be over 18, I think, to watch this video, but that's fine for this thing. Anything else you need to do? No, click next. Okay, we're not worrying about video elements. Visibility, this might be important to you. So for us to see it, you need to publish it, okay, but you need to decide if it's public, unlisted, or private. Private's not going to work because we can't see it. It's just for your own sake. Unlisted is fine or public is fine. It's up to you. Public is going to go on to YouTube and other people can find it without, just it's searchable. Okay, which is not a big deal when nobody's really looking for it. Okay, but if you want to be a little bit more stealthy, you can click unlisted. It's the same link. Okay, it just means that only people with this exact URL are going to be able to view it. So it kind of keeps it secret from other people. Okay, it's up to you what you want to do. I'm going to click done, and that's it. It's going to process eventually. How long is mine taking? It'll take a little while, but there it goes. It jumped fast. That's the link that I want, and paste that on the page for assignments. Or it might say course project, or it might just be the comments. Okay, post it there. Also use that same link if you want to post it onto all the social media at once. You're a LinkedIn person, you're an Instagram person, Facebook. Use that same link and we can all view it once rather than trying to upload them to them all. All right, let's look at the next one called Behance. All right, Behance. Okay, Behance.net is owned by Adobe. It is a portfolio website. It's also really good for getting great ideas for video, okay, and design in general. You log in with your Adobe password. Okay, it's the same one that you log in with your Premiere Pro. Okay, same license. It's free to use. It's a little bit more involved than YouTube, but the cool thing about it is that you can start building your portfolio as you're doing this course. Okay, and it's really easy to share with potential employers or other people to say, look at the video stuff I've done. So to do it, okay, you log in and then you go to create a project. Then you upload it, kind of like YouTube. Okay, so we're going to add upload a file. This will probably change as well. We'll upload your web one. This is alternative for YouTube. Okay, just doing it a different way. You still get a link at the end, right at the end. Okay, and you can share that with us. But it's just a different way of doing it. I'd probably do Behance way because it allows you to kind of, if you haven't used it before, get used to it. This is going to take a little while to upload. It's not as clever as YouTube, so I'm going to speed this up and I'll see you in a sec. Actually, while it's doing its thing, I'm going to show you how to add some text. Okay, this one, we're going to label this one as, what did we do before? Same thing as before. Give it your, actually you don't need to give it your name now because you're not competing on YouTube. Just say class project. You can call it whatever you want. Okay, this is the web design course introduction, and maybe just explain a little bit about your role. So your role was editing, color correction, audio balancing. Now you're just watching me type. So add some details about it, okay, and then wait for this long thing to start uploading. I'll see you again in a second. All right, that took forever. I'm on some pretty bad broadband here in the countryside, but it's uploaded. It's going to take a little while to be converted. We're going to click on continue. We're going to it needs an image on the top. It won't do it automatically. So to upload a cover image, I'm going to show you how to do that in Premiere Pro now. All right, you could make something fancy in Photoshop or Illustrator, but what we're going to do is find a shot where I'm, there you go, that'll do, my mouth's closed at least. Find a shot, that's going to be our thumbnail. What you can do here in Premiere Pro is see this little export frame, this little camera. Click on that, and it appears, this appears. Okay, you can give it a name. We'll call this my web intro thumbnail. Okay, what kind of format? Just make it a good old JPEG. And I'm going to stick it where? I'll stick mine on the desktop for the moment, just so I know where it is. All right, let's click OK. You should be putting yours in a special folder, not just dumping it on the desktop. All right, so that's there. And we're going to go into, upload image. We'll find it. There it is. There's my JPEG. Nice. All right, there it goes. All right, it's going to take a second. That looks good to me. Cool. Project title. Okay, we're going to call this my web course introduction. Can't spell, really can't. Okay, crop and continue. Okay, now when you get into here, okay, you don't have to put these in, okay, but it can be really useful for if you want people to find your work, especially for some of the later projects where you are adding a lot more of your own creativity to it. Go to the creative fields. Let's say I want to add, the best ones for us probably cinematography and, is it film? Film. Those are probably the best two at the moment. Hit done. The other thing you need to do is add me as a co-owner, okay, because I shot it. You know, we did this as a team. I did the videoing, okay, and you did the editing and kind of post-production. I did the production, okay, of the videoing, and you did the post-production. So add co-owners, look for Daniel Walter Scott. I can't find myself here because I am Daniel Walter Scott. It's looking for other Daniel Walter Scotts. So just type me in here and you should find me. You should see my beautiful picture. Okay, so you should find me there. Tag me as a co-owner. Plus, it's nice to see that people are doing the projects. Okay, and then hit publish, I'm pretty sure. Okay, you'll get a link in a second once this thing is finished. That's the thing I want. I'll give you click that, click copy, paste that onto the page so I can see it. Yeah, and that is how to post to Behance. So either do YouTube or Behance, it's up to you. But if you're going to get into the video sharing world, something like this is pretty useful. Behance is a great way to kind of start building your video portfolio. All right, it was a long one. Sorry about that. Let's get on to the next video. Hi everyone, it's live, me again. I just want to check on you, see if you're still awake. You look all right. This video is all about checking some of the weirdness that goes on in Premiere Pro. So you might have run into a few issues already that you're like, oh, what's wrong with it? Okay, so this video is going to hopefully save you from those ones and hopefully prevent some in the future. Premiere Pro is a big program. It does a lot of things and there's just some quirky bits that you need to get used to. So let's jump in now and look at the weirdness. All right, the first one that kind of causes lots of problems is stuff disappearing here on the timeline, and often it's due to your mouse. Okay, if you look at your mouse, you might be using a trackpad on your laptop, which is probably not going to cause you much problems. But if you are using a mouse that has a scroll wheel, or I'm using like a Magic Mouse from Apple, they do some scrolling stuff. Watch this. If I scroll accidentally, can you see half the stuff disappears? Scroll down, scroll up. It's meant to be helpful. You're like, I can scroll down the tracks, okay? But it means often when you're new, you're like, half my stuff disappeared. And all it means is find your scroll wheel and just move you don't have to click anywhere, just kind of scroll back down or grab the little rubber band and drag it up and down. It's the same, because like that, you're like, where did everything go? Restart machine, okay? Close it down, open it up. It's always kind of hidden up the top there. Okay, so just be careful that it happens the same with this. If I make the video bigger, okay, you can kind of end up scrolling down going, I lost a track. Okay, and it's there, it's just kind of scroll down. Okay, so that'll happen. On to the next bit of weirdness. All right, the next interesting thing that Premiere Pro does is that you can go to, at the moment I've got a project open, it's called XD Intro. You can open up more than one at a time. So I'm going to open up this project we're going to do later on called Wedding. So now I have two projects open, and you can see this is like a new feature, and it's just painful for people that are new. Okay, it's useful for people that are hardcore. When I say hardcore, I mean like some people that are using it quite a lot. Okay, and really good at it. The cool thing about it is I can grab this stuff and copy it and paste it over to this one. Okay, so you can see I've got two sequences open. I also have a bunch of different projects. I got the project for the wedding. I've also got the project for XD, and it gets really confusing when you're new. The one thing you're probably tempted to do is go to this wedding one, okay, that we're going to do, and we're going to hit the cross and it's closed. It's actually not. You can kind of still see it. It's open over here in the project window, so it's still kind of open. So the best way to do it is let's find this project, okay, and have it selected, or have the timeline selected over here that I've already closed, and go to File, Close Project. And if you're like unsure how, just close all projects and just open one backup. Okay, so it's not really a problem, it's more just a quirk for it. So I know that only one of them is open now. All right, that's multiple project weirdness. Next thing to be aware of is converting your file. So let's set up a little scenario where Dan, I'm using the new version because I'm awesome. Okay, I've got that brand new version of Premiere Pro. Let's say my brother Ben, he's already featured. Okay, he uses a really old version of Premiere Pro. Let's say 2018 or very something. Okay, let's say he sends me a file, okay, and I go and open it. Okay, Premiere Pro is going to say, hey, I can't use it unless I convert it. And you're like, what is this? Hey, don't worry about it. It works just fine. You can convert it. It's going to say, let's not use the same name. I'm going to call _1. Okay, this is where I call it maybe V2. Okay, or yeah, V2. It's missing a bunch of footage. That's okay. Ben forgot to send me all the PSDs. I'm going to offline them all at the moment. Okay, and that's easy peasy. Now, the other way is not so good. Let's say I work on this now and send it back to Ben. Okay, and Ben tries to open it, won't open it at all. It'll just come up with an error saying, can't open it, made in a newer version of Premiere Pro. It is not what they call backwards compatible. Okay, so remember, if you kind of go forwards, you can't go backwards. So if you are working with somebody who's stuck on 2018 for some reason, you need to be stuck on 2018 unless otherwise you can't send it back to them. All right, that is converting files, which will appear from you. What mostly happens is I'm just opening up my own files in the future and it converts them every single time. So V1, V2, V3. Cool, next feature. Next weird feature is, I'm calling them features, they're not really features. This thing here, you're like, what is all this junk? Why is it all gray? Okay, so before, after. They're in and out points. We're going to look at them properly later on, okay, once we're a little bit more skilled. But for the moment, if that appears, okay, they're annoying. They kind of actually make it play weird. Okay, you can right click anywhere in this kind of like gray stuff at the top, okay, and go to clear in and out and just get it back. Whew, all right, gone away. The shortcut most people hit is if I have something selected and hit X on my keyboard. Okay, that's the thing that kind of causes it. We'll talk about the in and out points in more detail later on, but for the moment, just know that if you accidentally get them going, how to clear them. All right, next not feature. Next thing let's quickly throw in again is if I have something selected, you can see up here in Premiere Pro, lots of things are grayed out. Okay, it can't be done. Do you remember why? Okay, just to reiterate, you need to have lots of things that says, okay, let's do stuff to the sequence, and you don't have a sequence selected. See the blue arrow is a blue border is around the source monitor. Okay, so it doesn't really know what you mean because you can have more than one sequence open. So here I say this sequence, and then I get lots of things glowing again. Okay, so same with clip. It's like, what do you mean? It's all grayed out. But if you click on a clip, then it goes in here. All comes to life. So there are some things that are not going to work, and you might just have to be conscious of where your playhead is. Sometimes it has to be up here. Sometimes it has to be selected over here. It depends on what you're trying to do. Just make sure you might have the right thing selected. Grayed out bits. All right, next not feature. All right, the next thing I want to cover is, let's say that it's called insufficient media. So if I drag in this first video, okay, and then I grab the second video and I put it just after it. I want to do a cross dissolve between the two, and I haven't edited it like we did before. Remember, we cut it off, okay, to make it all look nice, but let's say I don't. Okay, I go to effects, I'm going to use a cross dissolve, I put it between, and this appears, insufficient media. Okay, it's just saying that, let's have a look. When I get into here, because they're right at the extent of the MP4, and this cross dissolve, there's a bit of can you see a bit of that one overlaps this one? Okay, so it doesn't know what to do because there's no extra bit of footage to try and kind of get the dissolve to work. So it's going to fake it. Okay, and it does a perfectly good job. But let's say it doesn't appear because, let's zoom out. Okay, let's undo that. Because before we trimmed all this off. Okay, remember? So there's all that stuff that was there. It's still in there, remember? And Premiere Pro can use that to do the transition, okay, to make it all look nice. So when I do it like this, there's plenty of bits, okay, for it to trim into. Go like you. There we go. Okay, doesn't complain. So if you are using footage that is completely already pre-edited, okay, and that'd be stuff that you've bought from like a stock library site, okay, a stock footage already cut and ready to use, you might end up with that. All right, that's insufficient media. The last thing to help you is often Premiere Pro is prone to just kind of do some weird stuff, and you can just close it down and start again. So on a Mac, if it is just giving you problems, first thing to do is just go to Premiere Pro, and on a Mac, go to Premiere Pro, quit Premiere Pro. On a PC, it's under File and down here somewhere. Okay, and just quit it and restart it again, and often it can run a bit faster, media starts loading properly, it can fix some problems. If you're still running into issues, there's something kind of weird about it, and you're like, oh, I just want to get it back to default, On a Mac and PC, you can reset all the defaults. It's pretty easy. On a Mac, you need to find the application. Mine's down here in my taskbar. You can find it on a Mac under Go Applications, okay, and dig around there and find Adobe Premiere Pro. However you normally open it, okay, and all you need to do is hold down the Option key on a Mac, okay, and it's the same on a PC, but you hold down the Alt key. So on a PC, it's slightly different. You find it in your kind of like Start and Programs and wherever you've got it. So before you open it, hold down the Alt key on a PC, the Option key on a Mac, and hold it, 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 and this will appear. Okay, and it says, do you want to reset your preferences? The trouble will be is if you have changed preferences, okay, things that you really want to keep. So I'm reluctant to do it myself because I've changed lots of things. So I'm going to hit cancel, but that'll just get everything kind of back to as it was when it came out of the box. And that can be just helpful when you're new and you're like, I don't know what preferences have changed, so go ahead. All right, that is it for the weird stuff. Know that there is another weird stuff number 2 video later in the course because it covers some weird stuff that is a bit more advanced from where we are now. So there's kind of 2 of these videos of just strange, helpful things that Premiere Pro does and how to fix them. But for now, my friends, that's the weird technical stuff over. We're now going to get into the exciting world of file management. Hi everyone, this video is about file management and what happens when this big red scary box with all these languages on it appears. We'll cover what to do when you delete it, rename it, move it. We'll go and find footage. I can tell you're excited for this one. File management. Let's do it anyway. All right, the next thing that's going to cause you problems, or not problems, just good to know, is when you mess around deleting footage. So I've got my project here. There's my Premiere profile. You can see it's quite small, 43 megabytes, kilobytes even, okay, and it stays nice and small by actually just linking to this footage. It doesn't actually bring it inside itself like something like Microsoft Word or Photoshop where it kind of like draws it into the one file, okay, it just links to them. And what happens though, if you delete one of these files it's trying to link to, let's say for instance I deleted it by accident, okay, and I come in here and it freaks out and it goes, this window appears, the big red scary thing in lots of languages appears, and it's going to say, I'm missing this file, okay, and you're going to say, let's say we've deleted it and we didn't mean to. What I'm going to do is, I can't go and locate it because it's binned, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to offline it all. Now, I need to go back and just find it, okay, undelete that file or get it off the network drive that I left it on or my USB stick, put it back where Premiere Pro can get it, and it's not clever enough to go and find it. I can right click it. It will go and find it. You can either, you just have to turn Premiere Pro off and on again and it will link to it again. Let's go to replace footage and let's go to you and all's well in the world again. All right, let's do another for instance. Okay, let's say that I'm bringing in footage just to kind of test it. I was like, oh, I wonder if this will work. Okay, I'm going to bring in something that I was messing around with. Okay, and I brought that in and I kind of played with it. This is me talking. Okay, the beginning of this video, I was just checking it looked all good. Okay, and I do this all the time. I'm like checking it. I'm like, yeah, that looks cool, or I don't need that anymore. Okay, and I'm going to go to my files. Okay, and there it is there. I'm going to delete it. And then this thing goes, I freaked out. So I've deleted it on purpose and I just forgot I had it anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to go offline all and I'm going to do this. I'm going to say you, I can trash you. We'll just hit delete on my keyboard, get rid of it. Okay, because I don't want it on here. It was like a test. I was just checking it. Okay, but Premiere Pro says, if it just deletes, that's great. It hasn't been used anywhere. If this pops up, it says, hey, you're deleting something that actually is being used in one of your sequences. Would you still like to delete it? And that's when you kind of take pause and go, actually, I don't realize I was using that somewhere. And you need to go and look in your sequence to see where it is. I'm like, yep, I don't mind, go away. And it deletes it from both the timeline and your project window. Next issue is renaming stuff. Okay, so you're gonna kind of record it. It's gonna come through as like whatever your camera records it in, and you want to kind of maybe, name it nicely. So let's say I go in here and I need to call this one V1. Okay, same problem's gonna happen here. It's gonna freak out. Okay, the red win bar is gonna appear at the back here. It's gonna say, what would you like to do? And let's say that you can do it from here. Okay, straight here, or let's say you do offline it. Let's find the big red bar. Okay, and you can see in here it's question mark. Same kind of principle as deleting it. Okay, it doesn't know where it is. What we're going to do is slightly differently is right click it and go to replace footage. Okay, and say actually this is it. Where are you? That one there. Okay, and it connects it back up again. So renaming will freak it out, so just be careful of that. Next thing that is less weird and more helpful is if I go and move footage. So let's say that I am in here and I've got it all messy and I need to start some kind of folder structure. I'm going to put in my footage, okay, and I go and move XD1 in there. Okay, the cool thing about Premiere Pro, it kind of had a little twitch there, but it went and found it. Okay, it seems to only work if it's kind of like near the program, the Premiere Pro file, and kind of deeper. It doesn't seem to work as well or at all. I don't know exactly how this works, but if I go and stick it on my desktop, it goes too far, can't find, back to the crazy red box. Okay, so if you're moving it, I imagine it's just kind of like from the root where the file is all the way through to kind of other boxes. It seems to work just fine. So I'm going to just know that. So you can rearrange without having to relink, but if you go too far, it freaks out. Last tip in terms of this file management, let's just say that you've got footage and it's all moved. Okay, so I'm going to hit cancel. Let's go to this one that says, all right, this one here. I'm going to put them all on the desktop and they're all going to freak out. Let's say I left them at work on a network drive or on a USB stick and it's going to go, bah! Okay, and you don't want to have to go and find each individual ones of these or right click them and relink footage. Okay, what you can do is, let's say that later on you're like, oh man, I'm just going to cancel that. Okay, and what you can do is just put them back where it got it. Okay, everything can go back in there. Get a one back as well. And what we can do is in here, instead of having to try and relink them, right click, link to footage, or doing any sort of other thing, okay, just go to File, close the project. Yes, I'm saving it. And then open it up again, and Premiere Pro is pretty good and goes, when it opens, it goes and tries to search for them all and just kind of cuts down your time having to go search for them. All right, that is kind of it for the file stuff. You'll end up moving things around and losing them and seeing that red screen all the time. One last thing is quite helpful when you're dealing with footage. Let's say I do move it and I'm like, it's going to desktop and I don't know where it is. It's on my machine somewhere. I go to offline, okay, and I don't know where it is. I can right click it and say, actually, let's go and replace the footage. Okay, actually, we're going to link the footage. Okay, and in here we can do a search. So I can say I want to find this one here. I'm going to go to locate, and this window here is, if you're like, man, this is really hard to use, it is. I hate this window. I'll just use a finder window like everyone else. Okay, yours might be on this as well. So I'm going to go to list view. What I want to do is kind of give it a help. I'm going to say, look, I'm in my hard drive somewhere, and I want you to display only the ones that have the exact match, because that's all I'm looking for. Hit search, and it will find it. There it is there. Hello. Okay, click on it, click OK. And the cool thing about it is if you're missing other ones, it will automatically go and find those at the same time. So if you do miss one, you don't know where it is, use the link media, and then use locate. All right, that is enough about file management. Let's get back into some of the more exciting things in Premiere Pro. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed this free extract from the larger course. This is the first 16 videos. I hope you found some value in it. And if you do want to continue on, okay, this course continues on from video 16 all the way through to 136. So if you do want to get more into Premiere Pro and you enjoy this course so far, you might want to check it out. There is a link in the description. I hope to see you over there. Bye now.